Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show on the 30th of December 2021, the second to last day of this oh so spectacular year. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, the New York City tri-state area's largest provider of everything you need to make sure your home is clean and safe from all the winter weather that we're going to have soon. And
really?
Yes, really. That includes, Joe, rock salt at the lowest prices anywhere in the tri-state area. Pelledo, mag, ice pellets and flakes, all the fabulous snow melt products that are out there, plus snow blowers, spreaders, shovels, at great prices, and you can do it all at once at Omni. Again, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York on Long Island, 631-756-1125. And the website is omnitruevalue.com.
Truevalue.com.
Yes, Kenny Williams. Yes. So here we are on the next to last day of the
my mother when I was a very young boy at Christmas time, she always used to get me that stuff that they sell at Omni.
Like what?
Play-Doh.
Oh, I always said if you really hate somebody and you're invited to their child's birthday party, you bring them Play-Doh. They'll be finding they'll be finding it in their house, in their furniture 20 years from now. So it's just
or is it? What's the difference between Play-Doh and Pelledo?
Oh, well, Pelledo
you cannot put Pelledo in the Fun Factory.
No, you cannot. No. that just simply wouldn't work.
Yes.
So anyway, here we are. It's tonight. It's me and Mr. Earl Grey in my trust me, I'm a meteorologist mug that the chairman got from me a couple of years ago, and I haven't managed to break it yet, which is a good thing. Oh, you'll love this, by the way. I knew this was going to happen. I turned on my computer this afternoon because I wanted to do a little bit of work, and guess what? Windows 11 was on there. It went in and just updated Windows 11 on its own after I took it out yesterday. And I thought, okay, I'm in the clear. Well, no, wasn't. So I had to go through the arduous process of removing it again. Actually, it wasn't that bad. I've done it 3 times now, so every time I do it, it happens faster and faster. So I got I restored it back to Windows 10, and then I think I was able to go in there and change the settings so that it will never ask me to update Windows 10 ever again. So
lovely.
Yeah, yes. So
my computer still has that little blue dot in the lower right-hand corner of my screen. It says upgrade to Windows 11. It's ready for your PC. And I said, it may be ready for my PC, but I'm not ready for Windows 11. So there, and it stays at Windows 10.
Exactly. And plus, it takes a little longer when you're updating your Commodore 386. To get it running at full speed. So anyhow, I am particularly excuse me, the hot tea isn't hot enough. I am particularly surprised because I would have sworn that the GFS would have thrown in the towel by this afternoon on the in-between run, and it still hasn't thrown in the towel. If anything, it's gotten a little stronger, a little more dynamic for Sunday night and Monday with this second wave. I'm going to stick by what I've been thinking, and that is that the North is going to overwhelm that the GFS is way too deep with that upper air feature in the southern stream. None of the other models have it. The Canadian was the only did have it up until this morning, and then the Canadian pretty much caved to the European. So I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if it was still there for another run.
Well, I'm going to stick to my guns too. I still think that once the cold air begins to sweep in, it's going to pretty much cut off any precipitation. And I honestly do not see, aside from maybe a few snowflakes in the air, I honestly don't see anything in terms of a problem, in terms of any accumulating or sticking snow, even up where I live, Joe, all the way up here in the hills of Putnam Valley.
The thing with the GFS is it practically has a closed upper low in that southern stream, and it's separate from the north. The north kind of comes in first, brings in some colder air, and then you get the southern stream to come on in and sharpen up as it reaches the coast. And that's the big difference. Now, I'm looking at the new European 18Z run, just to see if there's anything of consequence here. And the only thing I will tell you is, Joe, that it seems as if, based on the European and the GFS, that I'm probably more likely to see snow Sunday night than you are, because the European has got it's got a 1,008 low east of North Carolina by 4 a.m. Monday morning. All the rain, all the precip is lined up east, northeast, west, southwest, and the low just kicks away to the east. It's just all about the northern stream just takes over, and that's the end of that.
Well, we shall see. I really do not think, and again, you know how much I'm in love with the intermediate or the 18Z maps that come out, and I noticed that they want to provide a rather significant swipe of snow into our area for late Sunday night, early Monday morning. But I'm still sticking with my original guns and saying little, if anything, to be concerned about at this moment in time. We shall see.
Right. Well, apparently a few people on the chat board do what they always do, and they go forecast shopping. And one of them wants to know if I'm putting up a snow map tonight. And my response to that is, well, you've already gone forecast shopping and gotten one snow map, so far be it from me to give you another. And besides, if I were going to put up a snow map, it goes up on my subscription site before it goes up anywhere else. So there, I'm not doing it. All right, there's no reason to do it. The chairman, Scott Briller, hitting the super chat tip jar tonight on a break from his COVID hospital job, wanting to wish all of us and Renata the best weather family on YouTube and a happy and healthy new year. I'm going to just go refresh my tea. Thank you, Scott. Most appreciated. Joe, I'm going to go refresh my tea. I'll be back in about a minute, okay? So just bear with me. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, while Mr. Chiaffi gets a fresh dose of Earl Grey, let's just simply talk about the next few days. Looks like we're going to continue to remain in a rather dull and dreary pattern up here in the immediate tri-state area. I don't really see very much happening. Maybe some pokes of sunshine tomorrow. It would be nice to see the sun. I can't remember the last time we had any really bright, sunny weather around here. It's been a while. Tomorrow, maybe a few pokes. That would be nice to see. And then on Saturday, we're going to have a round of wet weather, some rainy, showery weather, enough so that we'll be in front of the next approaching weather disturbance, the warm side, and we're looking for temperatures on Saturday to soar into the 50s. Maybe for some folks down south, it'll be into the 60s when we get to the end of the day on Saturday, the first of the new year. And then we'll see what happens on Sunday between colder air pushing down from the north and a possible wave of low pressure coming up from the south, which maybe might bring some snow to some folks. But as I said, I think most of that cold air is going to push most of the significant snows off to our south, away from our area. But we do look for temperatures to be mild again on Sunday, and then a sharp drop from the 50s down into the 20s probably for Sunday night into early on Monday morning. Joe, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. So I also took a Tylenol because sometimes that actually helps me with the cough when it comes up. So anyway, because when my cough comes up, it's because my bowel is getting inflamed and my body temperature is rising a little bit. So it kind of goes at my throat and strangles me, which is sort of an odd reaction, but that's what pretty much happens. So anyway, the other story tonight is, and it's kind of wound down a little bit, but it was really active a couple of hours ago. It was actually even more active than it was yesterday when SPC had the enhanced risk versus the slight risk. And I had some wicked thunderstorms move through here overnight. They were loud.
Yes.
And they were loud and it poured. But we do have what's left. If we'd have pulled this map up a couple of hours ago, it was a pretty, impressive area of thunderstorms. Now we're down to just a few heavier cells, and we're seeing a tornado watch, a tornado warning that's popped up at probably a little bit before 7:30 Eastern time. So remember, folks, when it comes to severe weather, you got to go to weather.gov to your local National Weather Service office so you can get the updated information. Meanwhile, in the Northeast, we've got some light precip moving across upstate New York and New England. Not much going on through the mid-Atlantic states. And then the showers from the southeast that extended to the Carolinas. A little bit of scattered precip around the Great Lakes. And then up in the Wasatch and in northern Nevada. We're seeing some precip, and a lot of this is snow, especially away from the coast in parts of Washington, Oregon, and still getting some pretty heavy rain down in Southern California. So the West continues to lead the way this winter, which is which has been the case now for just about the last 3 or 4 weeks. We still don't really see any sign of that breaking down anytime soon.
And on the chat board, David Scott, inquiring minds want to know, will Joe Rayo be watching the Honeymooners Marathon on Picks on New Year's Day? Happy holiday, gentlemen. Yeah, I will tune in usually after midnight to catch the first episode, and actually the first couple episodes. And then, of course, off to bed we go. And then when we wake up the following morning, we'll pick up viewing of that. They don't air all 39 episodes, but I'm hoping that a few of my favorites will be on the listing for this year, including the one I find most intriguing and most popular, the $99,000 answer episode.
He bribes the dust.
He bribes the dust, exactly.
Yes.
I once went to a there was a comedy store on Long Island that had a honeymooners, I think it was Chuckles in Mineola, and they had a holiday honeymooner get together, including people who came dressed as their favorite honeymoon character. And my good friend Alan Seltzer, who for many years was at the Hayden Planetarium, came dressed up as Chef of the Future. That would in itself was a spectacle to see, Joe, because Alan's a pretty heavy or hefty guy. But I thought the funniest one was, and nobody could figure it out initially what it was. It looked like a roll of paper with something written on it. And we finally, the host of the show said, well, what are you supposed to be that has any reference to the honeymooners? And the person who came in dressed like this with this, roll of paper with stuff written on it, he said, don't you know? I'm a cleaning bill.
Oh.
That's the cleaning bill that the host of the $99,000 answer said he was going to present to Ralph, because Ralph rolled past him and sprayed mud all over him. Oh, Mr. Crampton, I hope you win a lot of money tonight because I have a cleaning bill for you.
Right. By the way, Ruthless Goat is on the chat board tonight, and he's out in Colorado. I don't know if you saw, Joe, the fires that are going on in Colorado are just out of. I mean, they're just crazy. 100-mile-an-hour winds. 18-wheelers just completely flipped over on roadways. The fires are spreading so rapidly because of these wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour or more, and yet, when we're talking about the way the weather pattern is in terms of the West, getting all the snow, the trough is actually closer to the immediate West Coast as opposed to being inland, and as a result, the Rocky, well, you go up Colorado and into, say, central and eastern Montana, central and eastern Wyoming, it's bone dry there. Okay, you have to really go, say, from Utah, draw a line north-south through the state of Utah and go west from there. That's where all the heavy snow has been, and it's very unusual. In fact, I did see a mention a few days ago with regards to the fact that they did have that fire risk area up back days ago for Colorado, and it was the first time that they've had a fire risk up for the month of December.
It is kind of weird that places like California, which went through all of that mayhem back in the summer with the fires and the drought and all kinds of, and now of course they're getting more rain than they know what to do with, and and heavy snow, record-breaking snow for the month of December, and yet here sits Colorado in the midst of fire and wind and dry conditions or whatever. It's never where you want it, Joe. It being the wet weather, it's never where you need it or want it. And now we've seen the terrible conditions spread all the way inland into Colorado. One would hope that some of that moisture will eventually work its way eastward into Colorado and help firefighters in putting out those terrible fires out in the Colorado area.
Now, I'm just noticing here, they do have a winter storm warning up for Boulder from 5 a.m. Tomorrow to 11 a.m. on Saturday. So they're forecasting between 5 and 10 inches, higher amounts up to a foot for the higher terrain, the foothills and near Estes Park. So if that winds up, at least if that snow gets in there, that will at least in that part of Colorado. If you look, they got warnings up now for what looks like the western half of the state, or most of the western or northwestern half. But I'll bring it up on the map to show everybody. But that might at least, if it's snow of size and of intensity, it might put a very, very small dent in the fires, but at least it's a dent nonetheless. And by the way, 42 right now in Denver. Boulder, which is getting the rough of a lot of this big wind over there. 32 gusting to 55. 43 dew point 10, visibility 10 miles, wind chill 32, and they got that winter storm warning up. So let's hope they get something, because any moisture is better than no moisture at all.
I see late next week. Now, this is interesting. I don't know if you look at these things, Joe. Climate Prediction Center, they put out these 8 to 14 day U.S. hazards, and let me show you. Can I share the screen?
Yeah. Give me a second.
Hold on. This is most interesting.
Let's see. Go for it. In the meantime, just want to thank Paul Roman for hitting the super chat tip jar tonight. And I said the chairman hit it a while ago, so that thank you, Scott. And Paul Roman has hit it as well. Oh, look at that. Yes, January 7th, Joe. Slight risk, whatever slight means.
Look at that.
20%.
I'm going to bring that up a little bit closer here. That's interesting. That would be what? January 7th is next Thursday?
Next Friday.
Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, next Friday. That's right.
Next Friday.
Okay. Yeah. So that's intriguing. I don't know how many people are talking about it, but it's intriguing that it's enough so that they're putting a slight risk up from the Climate Prediction Center. And look at that area of the Northeast that encompasses this. That includes all of Pennsylvania,
Right.
most of Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey,
Right.
my neck of the woods, the Hudson Valley, and virtually all of New England, save for the immediate coastal area, coastal spots like, let's say Rhode Island and
basically along and south of I-95. Not a flake, not an ice pellet, nothing.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We'll see how that all pans out. That's next week.
Hope does spring eternal, I suppose, and there is a little bit of hope in the long range. Although I am skeptical, as many of you know, with this year more than most years. But this year it's been it's like fighting a losing battle with the way the weather pattern is. Sal Apache hitting the super chat tip jar tonight in a big way. Thank you, Sal, and a happy New Year to you. Most appreciated.
Sal, thank you. Sal, I'm going to come over and do your laundry, Sal.
Yeah, the other Sal was complaining today because he went on the geo, the satellite website, and it wasn't working right, and he wanted to know why and when it would be fixed. And I said, just call the White House and ask for Joe. He'll drop everything and fix it for you right away.
Yes, Mr. Blandino.
Yes, exactly. So here's something that's interesting: the off-the-wall P&A, which stays off the wall into the first days of the new year. Well, a lot of the members trended up to the neutral line, and some have actually the audacity to go positive on the P&A. So that would be a nice switch. And then we have the NAO, which really didn't do us any good anyway, so we'll let it go positive, which is what it's done. It's doing it right now, and it stays positive, kind of touches the neutral line maybe around January 7th or 8th, and then goes back positive after that. I've always said, give me the negative EPO, which we have. Give me the negative East Pacific Oscillation, and I'll take my chances with the other stuff. So we haven't done well with what we've had with the cards we've been dealt with so far. So this it can't possibly be any worse. Famous last words. Ruthless Goat, our friend in Colorado, in Loveland, hitting a super chat tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And happy New Year to you. And please stay safe with everything that's going on out in honestly, the flipped over tractor trailers is what impressed me, because there were like half a dozen on the side of the road that were just completely flipped over, and it's you can see the wind blowing all the dust around, and the trucks are just like like paper essentially. Okay, so there's your NAO. And now the Arctic Oscillation, which has been negative and actually has come in a bit away from the off-the-wall negative amounts, is going neutral, and we're seeing some members actually going positive and even strongly positive. David Schwartz mentioned that he was reading about the fact that the jet stream across the northern tier of the U.S. is so strong that planes are going from west to east and reaching their destinations an hour ahead of schedule, while going from east to west, they're having to stop to refuel because they're fighting, these really strong winds in the upper atmosphere, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Well, that sounds reminiscent of what we were talking about, or what we were seeing 2 years ago when aircraft were flying across the Atlantic in record time. And indeed, it looks very much, Joe, like what we had 2 years ago when we were threatened and saying, when is this pattern going to break down, and when are we going to finally get back into a colder and stormier weather pattern? It doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, the only difference is that this time around is that the AO is negative, which adds even more to the frustration because of the fact that usually the negative AO is a positive for colder weather in the eastern part of the United States, but that didn't seem to work out either. Ken Musillo hitting super chat tip jar tonight. Thank you, Kenneth. Most appreciated, and a happy new year to you. I'm checking out the 10 millibar. Stand by to check out the 10 millibar, Joe.
I'm standing by.
This is so exciting. So there's your polar vortex sitting over northern Greenland in the Davis Strait. And when we get to the end of the forecast period, it's migrated back up to the North Pole, and the troughing in the east pulls up northward. So, so much for a stretched out polar vortex, if that's right.
Can we at least try to stretch it out in January so that we can snap it and have two vortexes or is it vortexes or
vortices? Vortices. Yes. No problem, Ruthless Scout. You always keep us on top of what's going on in Colorado, and I like to pay attention to what's going on out there. One of these days, I may actually take a trip out to the great state of Colorado. Okay, let's examine what's going on with the upper air so that the forecast shoppers can understand why there are some, how shall we say, aggressive forecasts for Sunday. I don't know. But no matter. While the map is loading, we like to thank Rosemarie Brown, who has hit the super chat tip jar, Joe, wishing us a very happy new year.
Well, thank you very much. We're hoping that 2022 turns out to be. You realize, of course, this is the first time since 1999 that the year has three identical numbers.
Right.
We have 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2, as opposed to 9, 9, and 9.
Alexander, 2, 2, 2, 2. The line is busy. Yeah. All right. So let's run through the GFS in its stubbornness with the Western Trough and the Eastern Flat Ridge. And now we're going to swing it east. So Western Energy breaks through the plain states. It's the southern part of this trough right in here that is what the GFS is emphasizing. It's very, very sharp, and the northern part of the trough has actually already passed through into the northeast during Sunday afternoon. So colder air is coming in. The question is that the southern feature, how sharp does it stay as it tries to lift up to the northeast? And on this particular run, it was actually deeper or more intense than the prior runs. I still beg to differ with regards to this, because when you look at the European, when you look at the Canadian, when you look at the icon, it just does. They all handle the north and the south differently, but the common thread. I apologize, folks, with the the coughing. It's last night wasn't much of a problem, but tonight it's acting up on me. But here we go for Sunday, for example. So there's your southern trough on the European, which is kind of lagging behind there, and the northern trough is also lagging behind. And then it just sort of gently moves through into the northeast and then goes on by. And by the way, you'll notice how more progressive the pattern is getting, because as these troughs do come into the eastern part of the United States, with the blockiness gone, systems get to move from west to east. And that's why we go from these sharp troughs coming through and then being replaced by, which what the European has at day 10, a pretty strong looking ridge.
Is that my cue to say something?
Yeah, so I don't choke to death.
Oh dear me. Well, it's as John Charles says, it's all in the timing. Anyway, yeah, Joe, we're going to be on. I would presume that we're going to be on at our regular time on Sunday morning at 11 a.m.
Okay.
And by that time, I hope that the question as to whether or not we're going to get something out of this
Will be
Sunday
resolved.
night will be resolved. Will come more into focus. Until then, though, regardless of what they are saying, and Timothy Veltman says, well, why don't you buy yourself a Weatherbill subscription for $240 a year? He's addressing that to Tom Contino. So, Tom, there you go. In regard to what Tim Veltman says.
Bingo. Johnny Quest hitting the super chat tip jar tonight. Thank you, Johnny. Happy New Year to you. I know you're way behind in your snow totals up in the northwestern Virginia mountains, but maybe, just maybe, you'll get a little bit on Sunday. If the GFS is right, you might get something out of this. So anyhow, here we go. Again, the upper air. I went back to the GFS just to show you that at least in the west, the trough does disappear around day 9, which is nice. And we actually have a little bit of ridging out there. So that's that positive PNA. Still kind of a little bit ambiguous as to what's happening here in the eastern part of the U.S. But we do have what looks like a stronger vortex up in northern Labrador and a trough trying to extend down into the northeast. We'll see if this winds up being right since it's so far away. But remember what I said yesterday. If you go back 14 days and pull up the present day, and you'll find that the upper airs never progressed beyond that 14th day. They just, every day, the models would come out with their foreruns showing changes at the end of the forecast period, and it just wouldn't happen. And by the way, I think we have another, hang on, trying to find it now. No, that was from earlier, so that was Sal. Okay, very good. I just wanted to make sure that I accounted for that. And also, I'm just trying to think here, Joe. I kind of thought that we would get a bit of a soaking rain, for Saturday into Sunday, at least the first part. That we should get it shouldn't be crazy rain, but at least it should be a decent amount of rain.
Yeah, and then that shot of cold air coming in for Sunday night into early next week. Although I got to tell you, Joe, that cold air isn't going to stay around for very long. It's looking to me like it really is going to warm up quite a bit again after about. Well, my goodness, I'm looking here at some of the long range maps, and if you want to believe them or take them at face value, I mean, really toward the middle of January, once again, it seems like it's going to get unseasonably mild, if not downright warm. In fact, if this pans out, I think I know which weekend I'm going to be outside taking down all the Christmas decorations, because I hate to do it when it's very cold, but it looks like there'll be a pretty nice warm up, maybe an early January thaw by about the 10th or 12th of January coming up. If you want to believe some of these really long range models.
Well, and it's not impossible that the whole, the trough in the west pulls out, the trough in the east never materializes, and warm weather spreads across the United States. In the meantime, looking at watches and warnings across the U.S. tonight. By the way, we have winter storm watches up for much of Kansas, much of central and eastern Kansas, the northwestern half of Missouri, the southern half of Iowa, northwestern and northern Illinois, including Chicago, and reaching up into Milwaukee. We have flash flood watches from southern Illinois and southeastern Missouri, east across Kentucky and southern Indiana. We've got a little bit of leftover severe weather, severe thunderstorm watch there in southeast Georgia. And meanwhile, out in the Rockies and points west, we've got various winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, and even probably a few avalanche warnings in a few places. The immediate West Coast is taking a bit of a break here. And as far as snow amounts are concerned, the Weather Service is forecasting 9 inches for Chicago, 5 for Milwaukee, a coating to an inch for St. Louis, 4 for Gary, Indiana, 5 for Kansas City, 4 for Topeka, and 6 for Des Moines. So it's actually not too shabby, a snow producer here for the Central Plains and points north and east up into the Great Lakes.
And several people on the chat board asking me, how, Joe Rayo, can you call it an early January thaw when there's nothing to thaw, that we've never had a freeze? I'm just saying that because traditionally the January thaw comes around the 22nd to 24th or 25th of January. That's traditional, but what I'm saying is that it looks like it's really going to warm up again quite a bit, well ahead of that, probably more like around the 10th or 12th of January. And you're absolutely right. At least from this vantage point, there won't be anything to thaw because there's nothing that's going to freeze. But it is going to turn colder, the end of the weekend and into early next week. And yes, a slight chance, 20% chance, according to the Climate Prediction Center, that maybe some of us are going to see some snow here by next Friday. But we'll see how that all pans out.
All right, let's look at the GFS here for the next couple of days. Saturday, we've got the low coming out of the southern plains. You can see by Saturday morning, it's raining from southern New England down to Virginia, and then back to the Ohio Valley, across southern Missouri, Arkansas, into Oklahoma. And you start to see the snow forming across Kansas and northwestern Missouri, which strengthens a bit as we move into the afternoon. Snow moves up into the Chicago, Milwaukee area. I don't know if they'll get those those top numbers, but they could. At the very least, they should get half of what's being forecast. So here's our first slow, moving out east of Cape Cod, and because that southern feature now, the first low, the colder air is coming into the northeast. It's running out well ahead of that southern feature, which remains very strong on the GFS. And you start to see snow being generated on the northwest side in western Tennessee and western Kentucky. There's a low on the South Carolina Georgia state line on Monday evening. With snow in eastern Kentucky and eastern Tennessee, and even very close to me. Then the low moves east-northeast by 1 a.m. You've got rain and snow mix from southern New England down into Maryland, and then heavy rains southern New Jersey and points south. Snows to the west in northern Virginia and West Virginia. And this is what surprised me, was the fact that by Monday morning, you've got a pretty wrapped up 992 low there sitting just offshore with that dark blue snow right along the immediate coast and the lighter blue going on up to the northwest. And then, of course, after that, the low gets kicked away. Again, I find it hard to see how this is going to play with that second shortwave. I just think that the GFS is doing way too much with that southern stream feature. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm right. I could certainly be wrong, and if I start to see evidence that I'm going to be wrong, I will blame Joe Rayo for it. But no, I of course will take my hits with the wet noodle because that's what you do when things don't work out the way you see them. You take your medicine. And by the way, just for you young forecasters, okay, admitting you're wrong is not by saying, which I love when some people do this, when they say, well, if it wasn't for the fact that everything happened 50 miles further south than what I forecast, I would have been right. No, it doesn't work that way. You were wrong. Okay. And you stand up and you say, I was wrong. This is why I was wrong. I will look to correct my error the next time around when I see a similar situation. And by the way, I brought up the snow map on the GFS, which barely has, a coating to an inch. It's got, a few inches down in southern New Jersey, Delaware, the Delmarva Peninsula down into southeastern Virginia and the Tidewater area. But, the northern fringe is all very, very light stuff. So even with what the GFS is showing here, it is, it's not really all that impressive. I'll go back one run to the 12Z because there were some. I think one of the overnights was pretty aggressive with the snowfall. I mean, here too on the 12Z producing very little, even though it did have that that coastal low, and on the 6Z also not producing very much. So maybe it was the 0Z last night that I looked at that had yeah, here is this. I mean, this was the ridiculous 0Z last night, Joe, with the 6-inch plus snows in southeastern Massachusetts, across Long Island, central and South Jersey, southeastern PA, down into Virginia, double-digit snow amounts in West Virginia. I mean, seriously, again, I'm not impressed. I'm not really enamored with the idea of that second shortwave being deeper and further west than what the other models are doing, which, the other models are all, kind of on the idea that everything is going to be weak and suppressed to the south. The GFS is the only one that isn't. And I'm expecting that to correct itself. If not on the next run, Joe, I think certainly on the run that follows.
On the GFS extended 7-day outlook, this is the tabular version now, the GFSX Moss guidance. Yesterday, if you remember, I said that on Monday, the 3rd of January, that it was indicating 1 inch of snow for White Plains.
Yes.
Well, guess what? The 1 inch of snow is gone. It is not.
There
it is not there.
There it is. Throw it away.
And 4 out of 7 of those days coming up, starting with tomorrow, 4 out of the 7 days, temperatures are in the 50s. 53 on Friday. 50. This is for White Plains now. 53 Friday, 52 Saturday, 53 Sunday, and 54 when we get to next Thursday. A big cool down comes our way, according to the GFSX extended for Monday. From 53 on Sunday, they dropped to 33 on Monday,
right?
Then up to 39 on Tuesday, and 39 on Wednesday, and then 54 on Thursday. But the chance for, well, they have on Monday morning, the probability of snow on Monday morning at White Plains, 26%. You ain't going to get anything significant if the probability of snow is only 26%. That's the highest, by the way, the highest amount or highest probability for snow all of the upcoming week is Monday morning, and yet they don't have any snow mentioned in terms of accumulating snow as they did yesterday. So what does that tell you? That tells you that if there isn't going to be any snow, it might be in the form of flakes that are, appearing as the cold air drives itself in here Sunday night. But for the moment, at least, it still does not look like we're going to see anything in terms of significant or enough snow to shovel.
Right. And by the way,
chivalry may not be dead yet, but it certainly looks like it's on its last breath right now.
By the way, this is a perfect time to mention the fact that when you look at especially the GFS in the long range, it likes to make things very, very cold. And then as you get closer, it's a little less cold on every run. And then suddenly you'll either have it barely seasonal. It'll show something that you think, it's going to be minus 15 or minus 20 from normal. When you get close to the time frame, it winds up being barely seasonal, or in some instances, the opposite, where it's above average. So this is what happens when you sit around, looking at the long range, thinking, okay, well, it's going to change, it's going to change, it's going to change. It ain't going to change until it decides to change on its own, and no amount of jumping up and down on what some weather models are doing is going to make it happen any faster. So just remember that. And the other thing I'll say is, I'll say this again. I said this before. I'll repeat it again. You can throw all these things at me with regards to the ensembles, with regards to the MJO, the Mad Julian Oscillation, the polar vortex, and on and on and on. If none of this stuff is coupling down to the lower atmosphere, and I happen to think that that is the case, that it's not coupling down to the lower atmosphere, you're going to sit here and watch these models show drastic pattern changes from time to time. They're just never going to happen. So just bear that in mind, okay? There are times where the upper atmosphere and the lower atmosphere are out of sync, and this may be one of those times.
Justin Vale writes, may have to bust out the snowblower and go over the grass and act as if snow were blowing, just to make sure it doesn't forget how to do its job. You should do that anyway, Justin, on a regular basis. You don't want
you always want to. Yeah, you always want to make sure you put stabilizer when you get into the spring.
My brother-in-law told me about this product. Maybe you heard of it, Joe. Maybe if you have, you can comment on it. It's called what is it called? And it's not mechanic in a bottle. It's Seafoam.
I've heard of it, but I've never used it. I have seen it on the shelves, but I never really looked close to it. Why?
No, I bet that my brother-in-law says mix that with the gas and then throw after you use stable with the gas.
Right.
Yeah, Seafoam. Yes, indeed.
Right. Toss a match into it.
I'm wondering if anybody out there on the chat board has ever heard of Seafoam and have used it. But anyway, you should always keep the gas in your snowblower fresh. Don't let it stick around for too long a time. You don't want to gum up the carburetor just when that big storm finally arrives, whenever it does.
Yeah.
Anyway,
stabilizer does work. I've never had a problem with it. Put it in at the end of the winter. If you decide not to drain the gas, you put in a stabilizer, and then when you restart the snowblower in December, the following December, it starts on the first pull. So anyhow, do you have Briller Jeopardy tonight? Because I don't think I have.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do.
You do. Okay.
As Mr. O'Torre used to say on Treasure Hunt, yes, I do. And I'm going to get it for you right now. Yes, indeed. Let me just find it, and then we'll get it, and then we'll play it.
Okay.
From Mr. Briller, Scott Briller, and it says, "Happy and healthy New Year to me, to Renata." And Mother Briller says, "Hi to Mother Rayo," if she's watching tonight. Category today, we continue with average January snowfall for the following 10 cities. Come within 7 inches for credit. So this is for cities with January average snowfalls. And we will start off the list in the Pacific Northwest for Seattle, Joe. The normal January snowfall.
Yeah, you know what? Downtown Seattle is not known, even when they get cold weather, it's not really known to get a lot of snow. So I'll say 2 inches for Seattle.
Within 0.2 of an inch, 1.8 inches. Very, very good.
Okay.
Now aside to when it's burning up like it is probably right now, how about Denver, Colorado?
In January?
Yes.
Oh God. So I know when you look at the long-term stats on Denver, or at least the last time I did, which was years ago, the snowfalls amounts for November and December are actually higher than for January and February, and then they go back up again for March and for April. So I'm going to say for Denver for January, I'm going to say I just guess to just pick a roundish number. I'll say an even dozen.
Well, let's see, within 7 inches? Yeah, you're within 7 inches, but you're way, way off the mark on the upper side. 6.4, Joe.
Oh, so it
6.4
was.
inches for Denver.
It is low during the heart of the winter. The heart of the winter.
Yeah.
No, I was right, but yeah, I went a little too high on the number.
Here's for number 3, Drew Carey's favorite spot in the world, Cleveland, Ohio.
For January,
For
they
January.
yeah, they get lake effect over there. I'm going to say I'll say 13 for them.
Well, not quite, but still close enough to would it be within 7. 18.4 inches.
Okay, well,
that's pretty good. And I heard also that regardless of how heavy the snow is, that the one city in America that you would want to be at if you were trying to catch a plane flight out of Cleveland or plane flight out would be Cleveland. That they have an amazing way of just getting rid of the snow in Cleveland, better than Buffalo or any place that gets significant snowfall.
Yeah,
Cleveland is,
and the east side of Cleveland gets absolutely clobbered with lake effect, while the west side of Cleveland does not.
Yeah. All right. How about this city, number 4, Oklahoma City?
I'm going to say for Oklahoma City, I'm going to say 2 inches.
Again, within 0.2 of an inch, 1.8 inches for Oklahoma City. Then we have, he says, for number 5, Salt Lake City. I've been to Salt Lake City, and they say on there they advertise greatest snow on earth.
Gee,
which I'm not sure.
January, Salt Lake City. I don't want to go too high. Then again, I don't want to go too low. And then they got the mountains over there, so they get all sorts of crazy, variabilities. I'll just throw this out there. I'll say 16.
Well, that's a pretty good throw out. 12.7 though.
Okay.
Then we have number 6, Baltimore.
Oh, Baltimore for January.
Yes.
I'll say 2 inches.
And Baltimore, believe it or not, Joe, 6.4 inches for Baltimore.
Yeah, I wonder how big the data set is, though.
Well, that's what they have at BWI.
Although
apparently.
Baltimore is kind of funny because they're north and west of Washington D.C. in general. I mean, or north, or northeast, or north, whatever it is. But D.C. could get like nothing or a quarter to an inch, and downtown Baltimore could easily get 3 or 4, and then you just go north and west of the downtown, and you could wind up with a half a foot plus. So it's a weird local climatology that they have over there. All right, next.
Number 7, St. Louis. So long, Screwy. See you in St. Louis.
I'll say for St. Louis, I'll say 9.
Still within 7, but a little on the high side. 5.7 for St. Louis.
Yeah.
I thought we already did Philadelphia, but I guess we didn't, because here's Philadelphia for number 8.
Philadelphia, I'll say 4.5.
Well, that's interesting because Baltimore was 6.4. I would have thought that you might have gone a little higher for Philly, but Philly was 7.1.
Ah, okay.
Now, right now, I'm going to give you number 9. And number 9, Andy Taylor, when he's not walking around in Mayberry, he likes to go up to Raleigh. What does Raleigh get in January for snow? And they never showed snow in Mayberry.
Right, no, they didn't.
The entire run of that show.
For Raleigh, I'm going to say 1.2.
Actually, if you would have hit it on the nose if you had slightly doubled that, 2.6.
Oh, okay.
They actually get 2.6 inches in January. And then Louisville, the last one, number 10.
I'll say for Louisville, I'll say 5.
Pretty close, 4.5 inches. And the chairman says, Happy New Year to the entire Joe and Joe Weather family.
Oh, thank
There
you.
you go.
By the way,
Yes.
speaking of Andy Griffith, I was watching this morning, and I missed the beginning, but it was one of those Eleanor Donahue episodes.
Uh-huh.
So
But she played, yeah.
Right. So
she was Andy's girlfriend, and she was actually known as Ellie on that show.
Right.
Her real name.
Right. So in this episode, she needed 100 signatures on a petition to get her on the ballot for town council, and she got on the ballot. So I mean, it was so incredibly hilariously sexist. So the men were all furious that she got on the ballot at all, blaming Barney because Barney was the very first person to sign the petition. But no matter. So the men plot to make life difficult for the women by cutting off all their charge accounts. Okay. And then I didn't watch the whole episode. I missed the beginning. I missed the end. And then Eleanor Donahue meets up with the women who are, upset over having their charge accounts closed and they can't do any shopping. So they're furious. They don't know what to do. So she suggests that that they do no work for their, in the house for their husbands. They don't sew darn their socks or sew the holes in their pants or whatever it is. So I mean, I was just kind of watching this and I was just thinking this would just not pass. This would not pass these days for an episode.
Yeah, a lot of things that they did in the past wouldn't pass muster at this particular time. By the way, I just noticed here Mr. Briller gave you a bonus question. And the bonus question is, since 1869 in Central Park, how many Januaries have had at least 20 inches of snow? And you have to get it within 3.
Whoa. All right, so we're talking...
How many 20 inches in January?
Let's see. So it's 151-ish, 152-ish years of records, 20 inches. I'm going to say that it's not a common thing at all. So I will say I'll say 19.
Wow. You know why I say wow? Because it's less than half of that.
Oh, really?
8 Januaries.
Only
8 Januaries.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a big number. I just didn't. I didn't think it was going to be a big number. I just didn't know how small to go. Over 150 some odd years. Yeah, I mean 20 doesn't happen very often. And
might have been a higher amount if they didn't back in the 50s and 60s and 70s and beyond. Measured off the top of cars.
No, it was in the 70s that they started doing it off the tops of the cars.
Yeah.
And lasting into the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. That was back in the day. That was definitely back in the day. All right, so I don't know about you, but I actually despise New Year's Eve. Okay, I despise it. Okay, so I will probably be going to bed tomorrow at a wonderful godly hour of about 8 or 9 o'clock. I don't stay up to watch balls drop. Or anything remotely similar to that. And I just go to bed. I hate it. I've always hated New Year's. I think it's such it's such bullshit. You stand around. The only thing I will say was what really I really liked about New Year's Eve. It was the best day to work. It was the best holiday to work because nobody would be on the road. Either going to work and certainly coming home. I would get out at Pix at 11 o'clock, I'd get on the LIE, and I would be home. I would be home like at 11:40, 11:47, 11:50. It was a straight shoot, no traffic, nothing. It was the best time to drive and the safest time to drive because all the idiots were at parties getting drunk. So, and it was also good for the comedy the next morning in the years that I worked both New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I would get out of my hotel room and walk across the street, and I was crossing Second Avenue and watch cabs stopping short and opening up, and people falling out on their asses, vomiting all over the pavement. That was always a fun show to watch.
Well, I've actually, Renata and I have actually, slept through during our 37 years of wedded bliss. We've actually slept through one New Year's Eve and missed the ball drop. And yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those holidays that what are you doing? You're just marking another passage of another year around the sun. And
Yeah, no,
one year they maybe.
It's just leave me alone. The next day you want to have dinner with family. Okay, I kind of get that. That's fine. But you know what? As far as going parties, especially going to restaurants, where you're paying for like pre-cooked meals that were prepared like in the morning, and paying 3 and 4 times what you would normally pay if you just went on a regular day. I'm not doing that. I'm just not. I hated it. The only time I was forced to go to a New Year's in a restaurant on New Year's Eve, my wife dragged me to one. I had the flu. Okay, I had 102 fever, but she insisted that I go. I was not allowed to stay home alone. I went. I had the most god awful, miserable time that I've ever had, and I made it very clear that it was a god awful, miserable time, and I never had to do it again. Anyway, that's one of those stories for the memoirs.
Well, Happy New Year to you and to all of our J&J or Joe and Joe family, and we will be back again come Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and hopefully by then we'll have a better idea, a better handle as to what may conceivably hit us, if it does or if it doesn't, on Sunday night. So I hope to see all of you then, and Happy New Year to you, Joe.
All right, Happy New Year to you and to Renata, and I will see you on Sunday at 11 a.m. 99.
And by the way, in regard to COVID, as we move into the year 2022, I just got word that the CDC says that if we all do the hokey pokey, we can turn this around.
Oh, Jesus, Mary and St. Joseph. All right, have a Happy New Year to everybody watching here on the show tonight. As always, your participation in this is greatly appreciated, and we'll see you on Sunday. Good night, everybody.
And that's what it's all about. Good night.
Yes.